Everybody, so we're going to be talking about deuterium and electrolysis in this video. I just want to preface that evidently, if you've been watching some of the content, you are very much well aware that the water electrolyzer, the device, the water technology device that I recommend, the electrolyzer, performs what is known as electrolysis, and that's significant to note because we're going to talk about and basically investigate a text, a book that talks about how electrolysis can be utilized to do what is known as deplete what is known as the isotope of deuterium, and which we're going to actually later elaborate on in this video. We're going to recount and review why this is notable and why this is significant. But we're going to talk about one book written by Gabor Samliai, and again, I'm just prefacing this because again, the machine that I offer does action the electrolytic process of water. And again, there's also going to be a PDF version of this, which is accessible. It's going to be free. I'm giving it away. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want you to understand, if you're watching this video and you're watching this content, that there is evidence for this being the case. That is deuterium being depleted from water. So again, this device, which is shown on screen, performs electrolysis, and what we're going to cover today in this video is how electrolysis and how much electrolysis can deplete deuterium from our water. So we're going to talk about some information that was presented by an individual by the name of Gabor Samliai, and here is his credentials can be seen on screen. We're namely going to be talking about a very specific part of the book, and that is where it's how to, this specific section we're going to be talking about is how to produce deuterium depleted water and how to measure its deuterium content. And so in this specific section, which is page 62 of this book, now mind you, this is an older book. He has actually in recent times published a new book as of 2022, but this one was published quite some time ago. But I'm mentioning it because it is significant to note that he actually specifically mentions the electrolytic process to be one of the methods and means in which is utilized to deplete deuterium. So we're going to read it right here. So we're going to read from the screen. So the other frequently used method is based on the fact that in the hydrogen gas developing during the electrolysis of water, deuterium concentration is 1/3 to 1/9 of that of water. And so basically I've gone ahead and I've actually put this into ChatGPT, which is obviously trusty, and going to be able to provide us some information specifically as to how much ppm is present in the how much ppm, parts per million, of deuterium is present in water. So one thing that's significant to note is that naturally water is usually typically contains 150 parts per million of deuterium in water, and if you want to experience the medicinal effects, which is what has been talked about by mainly fringe health individuals and medical professionals, they talk about there's a myriad of different benefits, which we're going to talk about as well, that deuterium depletion of water is able to allow for. So as we'll be able to see here, I've put this information in, specifically what was mentioned by Dr. Gabor Samliai, which is that deuterium concentration is 1/3 to 1/9 of that of water, into ChatGPT, and here is the results. We're going to read them out now and go through this information because it is significant to note that water can be depleted of deuterium when you utilize when water is subject to the electrolytic process. Okay, so question here, what do experts consider as an appropriate ppm dosage or amount of deuterium that is needed to be depleted from the water in order for it to be considered therapeutic, a therapeutic/medicinal dosage? And the recommended amount of deuterium to be depleted from the water, if you look into some of Dr. Gabor Samliai's work, he actually recommends that a ppm of 25 to 105 is the ideal range for it to be therapeutic. So that's obviously significantly a lot more lower than what an electrolyzer can promote and do, as there is a lot more better and efficient and potent ways in which you can go about the depletion of deuterium. But what is notable here, that's most significant and applicable to, at least in our case, in the device in which I recommend, is that it can reach the therapeutic range, which would be 105 to 125. And so if we go back and we look at the ppm dosage that we can reach with an electrolyzer device, it's around the 100 to 133 ppm range. So that would be that. Now we're going to talk about the actual benefits of deuterium depleted water. Why is it beneficial? So what are the benefits of deuterium depleted water? So there are 7 main health benefits offered by deuterium depleted water. There's a lot of different things we can mention. Obviously, if you go back and you look at the text and some of the information provided by Dr. Gabor Samliai, we can very easily see one of the main benefits is that it can be utilized for the treatment of, well, it can be used for the title of the book. You can see it's an oncotherapy, so it can help tremendously with that. But obviously we have these things here, so better metabolism, which would in turn mean more energy, greater resilience, it's adaptogenic, less brain fog, better performance, enhanced healing, and healthier mitochondria. So we're going to talk about one of the main things. So one of the main uses for the water electrolyzer is the production of hydrogen, which is what we're actually going to turn our focus towards now. So obviously one thing that we've established, and it isn't really commonly talked about by a lot of most distributors. They don't really talk by distributors. I'm talking about the people who distribute the technology in which I recommend. They don't really talk about the water being depleted deuterium, specifically, I think, because it's just a lot more. I guess you could say it's just extra. I don't really know. Maybe they just haven't really paid attention to it. But again, whether or not it's significant for them to mention, that's another thing. I believe it's significant. That's why I talk about it. So anyway, turning our focus to this now. So one of the main uses of the water electrolyzer is that it produces molecular hydrogen. So when you electrolyze water, not only are you able to deplete the water of deuterium partially, you're also able to, one of the main things you're able to do is liberate hydrogen. You saturate the water with gaseous molecular hydrogen. So the question would be, how much hydrogen is produced and thus saturated into the cathodic water from an electrolyzer with 8 platinum-coated titanium electrodes? The reason why I pose that question is because the machine that I recommend, that I own, the flagship one now, there is a different, there's a range of different water ionizers which you can choose from. But the one that I believe to be the best to recommend to you is the 8-plated platinum-coated titanium electrode machine, which is the flagship one from the company in which I'm a product distributor for. So basically, as you can see on screen, the amount of parts per million of hydrogen that can be saturated into the water is 17 ppm. Now that's notable because when we move over to this next slide, and we look at what is considered a therapeutic dosage of hydrogen according to studies, and there's going to be a few listed here, but as we can see, comparatively speaking, just from this one study alone, studying nephrotoxicity, they had 0.8 ppm. And if we have a machine that's able to saturate even increasingly more abundant levels of hydrogen into the water, then evidently we could very much see its ability to be able to replicate, if not pass with flying colors, and exceed the benefits that this study alone was able to help replicate in mice, but in humans. And there's obviously other different studies that are listed on the screen, but I did think this one was significant to note, considering that there's such a stark difference between how much ppm is produced from the 8-plated titanium, the 8-plated platinum-coated titanium electrode, having machine water electrolyzer, in which I recommend, and then seeing the amount of ppm that's being administered to these mice in this study, and what it's been able to do for those mice. So it kind of gives you evidence to how and valuable this machine can well and truly be. So again, yeah, there's quite a stark difference between how much is created. Now, a bonus question I wanted to provide, and the reason why I'm asking this question and answering it is because I've read material that kind of some of the things that people, anyway. The reason why I asked this question is because I've seen information out there that's claiming that the ORP meter, when distributors for this technology, this water electrolysis technology that produces Kangen water, I've seen content out there that has had people saying that the ppm, that the ORP readings, the high negative ORP readings, they're not actually reading hydrogen. Now, I don't necessarily want to make this to contend with them. I'm mainly making this just as like a, I thought it would be an interesting question to ask and answer. So the question is, if the electrodes electrolyzing the water are platinum-coated electrodes, and there are 8 of them, and the resulting cathodic water is being measured by a Milwaukee ORP meter, which also has a platinum-coated electrode, would it then stand to reason that the resulting negative reading, reduction potential being measured, is largely due to the hydrogen and not OH ions? And what I got was, ChatGPT, the short answer, in summary, it said yes. It would stand to reason that the negative reading of the oxidation reduction potential measured by the Milwaukee ORP meter with a platinum electrode is primarily due to molecular hydrogen rather than hydroxide ions. And there's the reasoning and rationale is elaborated, which you can pause and read through on the screen here. So, what are the benefits of molecular hydrogen? Well, there's a book in which I've sourced this figure from, which has sourced, and the figure has been sourced from Shigeru Ota. So I got it from this book, this molecular hydrogen book, and then this book, they sourced this material and this figure from Dr. Shigeru Ota, who was this notable figure in the field of molecular hydrogen medicine specifically. So we can very clearly see the benefits of molecular hydrogen insofar as its application, medicinally speaking and therapeutically speaking. Because if it can have such a manifold of different applications for these different ailments, you can only really well and truly think and ponder how much more beneficial it is going to be to somebody who's already healthy. Like, if you're somebody that's already going to the gym, you're doing your fitness, you're doing this, that, the third, this stuff is going to work wonders for you. So we're going to move on now. So just to wrap it up, the free resource for deuterium information and partly some of the hydrogen information is going to be on this new, this updated PDF resource in which I've created. It's going to be there. Whether if you've watched all this video, you're most probably not even going to need to read through it. But I provided that there just for the sake of just having it, and so that all the information is kind of indexed, so that if someone wants to read over it and if I need to come and review it myself, I can do that. So I like having that information there. So with all that being said, if you're somebody that wants to actually acquire the technology that's responsible for creating these two properties in which we just discussed in this video, depletion of deuterium and enrichment of hydrogen, this is what this device, in which I've been sharing information about for quite some time now, is able to do, and able to actually imbue into your water and able to provide you those benefits. there's a lot of people out there that have experienced well and truly miraculous experiences, let's say, from consuming the drinking water from this machinery and from this water technology. So that's that there. There's a myriad of other different things in which it's able to help with as well. And so insofar as the different electrochemical alterations of water in which it can provide, hypochlorous acid and sodium hydroxide, which is just basically the extremely acidic water and extremely alkaline water, which have their different use cases as well. So there's also going to be a uses and applications document in which you can read through, and there's over 100 different uses in which you can utilize this for, which, mind you, would also involve actually saving you money long term. So when you think about it, there's a lot of different things you can spend your money on insofar as cleaning appliances, and just for instance, dishwashing liquid, maybe even liquid that you utilize to clean oil, and a lot of different things you would be cleaning within the kitchen space. You can use hypochlorous acid to clean, and not only that, you can also utilize it for skin conditions as well. But that's another story. So with all that being said, again, there's going to be amongst all of this a payment link, a page where you can actually see the pricing options, and this page is specifically being created for Australians. I created it specifically for that reason, but you can go there, you can look at the pricing options. If you're somebody that actually just wants to just message me and get into contact, you can just reach out to me, message me directly, and then we can go from there, and I can just help you via direct message. Further, then we can go on to have a discovery session where I'll be able to go give you a bit more information if you wanted to do that. I'll have a presentation opened up. The main point for the discovery session itself would be more so to just actually have a conversation, and be mainly just to give answers to questions that you would have that would be more so relevant to what you would need to know, rather than me just talking willy-nilly, going through all this information. You're sitting there waiting for your time to ask questions. It's mainly going to be more so catered towards what you would want to know, addressing that, and then finding out how we can actually get you on board and get you in a payment option that would work best for you. So with that being said, I trust that has been valuable. For those of you who are going to be getting on the call, I look forward to talking to you, and thank you for watching. So.